We're back with The Big Deal. I'm Errol Louis. This past Monday marked the second anniversary of the Supreme Court decision that ended the federal right to abortion, overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling and allowing state governments to limit or restrict abortion care. Since then, 14 states have implemented near-complete bans. 7 others have restricted the procedure earlier than the Roe v. Wade standard. And in the first full year following the ruling, about 1 million clinician-provided abortions took place in states without a ban. Now, more than 170,000 of those patients traveled out of state to receive abortion care. And the state with the most traveling patients was Texas, where local lawmakers are now debating a so-called abortion travel ban. Spectrum News political reporter Erin Davis has more in this report.
Nearly 35,000 Texans drove or flew out of state last year to get an abortion. That's more than any other state in the country. A large number went to Colorado and Kansas, and 14,000 went to New Mexico.
The majority of the patients we see are Texans.
Gallegos moved her clinic from San Antonio to open new ones in New Mexico and Illinois. The move to New Mexico was prompted by Texas passing its 6-week abortion ban in 2021.
And we really started looking into a second location probably around the time of the leak decision, before the official decision in Dobbs.
80 to 85% of Gallegos patients travel from Texas. She says it's a sometimes daunting experience.
Pure exhaustion, really, from long journeys, from traveling in the car all night the night before, sometimes plane rides.
Is it overreaching?
Amarillo City Council recently rejected an ordinance that would outlaw the use of local roads and its airport to access an abortion out of state. A similar ordinance did pass in Lubbock County last October.
Abortion trafficking is something that I see no different than sex trafficking or human trafficking.
Anti-abortion advocates are trying to implement what they call abortion trafficking bans in cities around Texas. Legal experts say it's not a sound argument.
Usually the motivation for these other forms of trafficking is profit, whereas it's a little bit difficult to see much abortion travel as being for profit purposes.
Even with Texas having one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country, some anti-abortion advocates say the state is still not safe for the unborn.
Unborn human beings, they're worthy of protection.
But providers say nothing will stop their patients from getting abortions.
Many patients will do whatever they need to do to get these services.
For Spectrum News, I'm Erin Davis.
Joining me now to talk more about this is Lisa Lerer, national political correspondent for the New York Times and the co-author of the new book called The Fall of Roe, The Rise of a New America. And Lisa, as we saw in that report, Texas is literally trying to block the roads to stop women from leaving the state to have abortions. Should we expect similar action in other states?
Well, look, I think what that shows us is something that we really document in this book, which is that for the anti-abortion movement, the fall of Roe was not the end. It was the beginning of the end, that this is an effort to end all abortion nationwide. So the idea of returning it just to the states is not sufficient for them. They want to make sure that abortion, they believe it is a moral wrong, as we saw some of the activists say in that package, and they want to end it across the country. So yes, I think in states with some very strong conservative legislatures, we could see some of these things be introduced and try to get put into law. The problem they face is, of course, the politics have radically shifted since Roe fell.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Donald Trump and the conservative Supreme Court justices usually get credit for overturning Roe versus Wade in the Dobbs decision, but that's not the whole story. In your book, you write, among other things, our investigation discovered secret meetings, personal motivations, and a tightly networked ecosystem of lawyers, politicians, and activists who powered one of the most significant political resurgences the United States has ever seen. This network has been at work since literally the day of the Roe ruling in 1973. You're chronicling how it grew, and you seem to be suggesting that they're not done yet.
No, they're absolutely not done yet. And we see that across the country in ways big and small. There's been a lot of talk about whether IVF and fertility treatments should remain legal. There's talk about some forms of contraception, and really the conservative fringe of this anti-abortion movement wants to tackle not just abortion at all stages in pregnancy, but also fertility treatments and contraception. And really I think Republicans, most Republicans have been resistant to that because they know there's very few areas in American life that have really broad approval and access to contraception and fertility treatments are some of them. So they know this is politically unpopular. But really what we document in this book is how the fringe of the anti-abortion movement became the mainstream. 10 years ago, nobody thought Roe could fall. And now we live in a post-Roe America. So these things can travel from the fringes to national law.
Yeah, in fact, you write about how Democrats didn't necessarily take attacks on abortion all that seriously in recent years. President Biden, in fact, made a point of almost never saying the word abortion when he was campaigning over the years. All of that has changed. The stakes are different. The lineup is different. Is it fair to say that this is going to be on the agenda in this election?
Oh, it's definitely on the agenda. I think President Biden, every day his campaign is talking about abortion. They believe it's a good day. And in a race that's pretty tough for the president, a re-election race where he has very few issues that are working in his favor, abortion rights is consistently an issue where he outpolls former President Trump. So this is, and they've seen in every election since Dobbs, which is of course the ruling that eliminated Roe, Democrats have overperformed. So Democrats see this as one of their strongest arguments heading into the election and a way to really energize this coalition of liberal, moderate, and even some moderate Republican voters who they hope will come out and vote to reelect the president.
Beyond this election, you really suggest the subtitle of the book is The Rise of a New America. You're suggesting that this coalition that got Roe overturned has other targets in sight, that they want to talk about transgender rights. They want to sort of redefine the role of women in our society, broadly speaking. Is that a fair way to put it?
Right. This is a group of conservative Christians, evangelicals, and Catholics who want to, in some ways, effectively undo the sexual revolution. They want to put the country on a different path culturally. And what we document in this book is how they were able to grasp the levers of power, key places certainly on the Supreme Court and lower courts, in conservative states and state houses and governorships in order to push that agenda through, even as the country was becoming more liberal on these sort of issues of like sex and gender.
And so even on issues where the polling suggests that most of the country wants to go in a different direction, this group that you're writing about, undaunted, right? They still want to move forward.
I mean, this for them is a moral quest. Anti-abortion activists compare their efforts to eliminate abortion to the civil rights movement. That's a common comparison they make. And so the public opinion isn't their main concern. They think they are fighting for the morality of the country, and they also think about this in terms of generations. I think when we talk about Democrats, when we talk about the abortion rights movement, they were thinking about this on our, how political reporters like you and I tend to think about these things, 2- and 4-year cycles, elect more, senators, congressmen who support abortion rights. The anti-abortion movement is thinking about this generationally and in a much longer time frame. And so they're not thinking about it in the same political way.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.